Welcome to Amiga Ireland. It's the April episode. I'm Irla.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's episode, 400 quality mod synth samples have just been released.
We have a look at some of the details of the upcoming OS 3.2.
And the new FTP client for your Amiga.
It's been a strange month. How have you all been?
Strange indeed. It's been hectic for me, actually. I've been working from home, but been in and out of the office a bit and generally don't seem to have any more time. And looking at all these people with loads of free time, kind of with a bit of jealousy. They're all digging out Amigas and playing games and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
And I'm sitting in here looking at spreadsheets, staring out at the sunshine.
Oh dear.
But it's all good. It's all good. Busy.
Yeah. I found I've been cooking an awful lot now that we're at home all the time, because we would have eaten in town at lunch and our daughter would have eaten at school. So now we're like doing twice the amount of shopping, twice the amount of cooking. So I'm kind of tethered to the kitchen, between the kitchen and then the three of us are working out of the same office, and my daughter's doing her schoolwork that she gets sent by email. So it's very odd. And then lots of swing ball in the back garden to keep everybody sane. That's our bit of exercise. How about you, Luke?
I'm not as lucky as you guys. I go to work every day as being a key worker. So I just go to work, come back home, go to work, come back home. And that's it. So nothing's actually changed for me.
We've actually got a few medical people in the Amiga Ireland group, actually, so I'm sure they won't be listening at the moment. They'll be out in the front line, so best of luck to you, and thanks for going through the hard work and the slog at the moment.
Indeed. Good luck to all of us.
Yeah.
And we've got two special guests with us this week. We've got George Sokianos, aka Wakero, and Aris, our resident Greeks living in Ireland at the moment. How are you doing, guys?
Great, how are you guys?
We're all right.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, we are great, and we spent some time in the house for this weird period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt bad for you actually, because I think it's your first
First year in Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, and St. Patrick's Day, it was like 28 days later scene or something when we were out anyway driving in it.
But at least we spent some more family time together.
Yeah, that's been the great part, as long as you can not argue too much. We're trying to keep tabs on that. Yeah. So, George, is your job easier or more difficult working from home?
Me as a developer, it's always easy to work from home. We can work wherever we are. So, yeah, it's a good opportunity to stay home and don't spend time on traffic and things like that. So, yeah, it's fine. And we are lucky to have our work as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. And Aris, you've been busy on the Amiga Ireland Discord channel, actually making it 100 times cooler than it was beforehand.
I'm trying to improve it.
Yeah, it's very improved, and we hope for Amiga Ireland next year that there'll be and some nice facilities here to help people navigate the event, know what's happening when, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, thanks a million for your help, Aris. I wasn't expecting all of that, and for you to do it so quickly.
No problem.
And so thoroughly. Okay, it's time to move on to the news. Juan Calderon has released almost 400 mod samples from the Harness synth. He did this to celebrate his comeback back to the Amiga scene after 20 years, and there's a collection of really high quality synths with basses, pads, leads, effects, all generated with the harmless VST on FL Studio. All of the samples are 8-bit raw mono, and so they should work in any of the Amiga trackers. I actually listened to these. They're really cool, funky sounds. There's plenty of stuff you can do with this. Nice release for anybody who's into the music scene.
A little bit of news on the OS 3.2 front, and for anyone who hasn't been paying attention, basically OS 3.1 was updated to 3.1.4 a little while ago, and that was sort of a stepping stone to 3.2, which is basically rewriting a lot of the core of the OS. So it's already, brought in a lot of 3.9 features and a couple of OS 4 features, but we're seeing a lot of new features that have never been seen before on the classic. Things like being able to resize a window from any corner. If you can maximize windows, and little touches like that are sort of quality of life improvements for using Workbench or using the OS. So none of it's nailed down yet, and it's still early days. But we have a thread on EAB that's that the developers are in and giving some news, and we're seeing little sneak preview screenshots here and there are cropping up on Facebook. It's exciting to see it take shape.
Right, another news item is an Apollo Core Gold 2.12 after some testing of version RC1, Apollo team has prepared the final version of the new core. There are a lot of bug fixes and a lot of improvements, and apart from that, there's EmuTOS ROM bumped into version 0.12, and Vampire support also bumped to version 40.41.
A big pain for using your Amiga daily is a good web browser. A lot of updates happened lately on Odyssey, the best browser for Amiga OS 4, where a few bugs were fixed. The developers managed to give a good speed boost at the browser on page loading and video playback, especially on full screen mode. If you want to see how this goes, you can visit amigans.net website, and there is a thread about that.
Always nice to hear Amiga OS 4 updates, especially with the A1222 coming around the corner. Looking forward to that. Screen Time is a limpid clock-style clock and calendar for OS 2.x and 3.x. This is initially released in December, and it's had over 600 downloads already. It adopts the font and colours of the screen to integrate nicely, but it can also be customised differently. Clicking on the clock will bring up a calendar for the current month, and you can navigate to other months. Plenty of formatting options exist as well to make this a really nice timepiece for your Amiga.
AmiSignix has been updated to a new version, it's version 1.5. So if you're not familiar with this, it's a whole X window environment for OS 4 that lets some quite serious applications run. Sort of, it's natively on OS 4. It's OS 4 code, but it doesn't use the OS 4 GUI. So it does feel a bit alien and a bit clunky, but it's a very nice solution for using your OS 4 machine for things like, you can run GIMP and Nutella and AbiWord, and so you can open sort of modern files and do some modern work on it. That's been updated, and it's mainly sort of minor fixes and performance increases in this update, but it also added a couple of new features that can be used for more recent updates of the software that runs on it.
MGBA is an emulator of Game Boy consoles, both the classic ones and the advanced ones, and it's been released for MorphOS, so if you're a fan of consoles, especially Game Boy consoles, why not have a look? It's great fun to play all those games from the past.
A video was released on YouTube a few days ago with Trevor Dickinson from Aeon Technology, demonstrating his A1222 tablet board booting on Amiga OS 4 and playing HD videos using their latest Radeon RX drivers. The performance was pretty good for such a computer.
AbiWord word processor and numeric spreadsheets have been updated recently. This is a big bug fix, which means that charts can now be created and edited in numeric. And AbiWord can also integrate these tables and embed them. So this is a worthwhile update for anyone using those.
Amiga AMP has been updated as well. People will know this because it's basically the Amiga version of Winamp, the Winamp Classic. And it's a very good top-end sort of MP3 player or music player because it supports lots of different formats. Yeah, so that's had an update which improves a lot of things around the streaming, a couple of other bug fixes, but mainly it sort of improves SSL issues that it's had with connecting to streams through HTTPS. If you have a high-end Amiga, I think everyone probably has that on their hard drive somewhere. Well-worthy update for listening to radio stations online.
Right, revision. One of the biggest, if not the biggest actually, demo scene party will be live stream only event this year. I'm really glad that they actually decided to do that because I was scared that they will actually cancel it, but they didn't, which is really good. So the link to that will be in the show notes. If you're a demo scene fan, just like me, you can't miss it. It's a must to watch it.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen the same thing with Amiga 35 UK event, which was cancelled, and actually it was postponed for the next year because of the organizers couldn't reserve the place where it's going to happen and make all the plans about people traveling to UK. So the organizers started already working on Amiga 36 for the next year.
That makes sense. I think we got away really lucky with Amiga Ireland this year.
Yeah, we just got in there, didn't we?
A new Amiga 1200 expansion is now available with 8 megs of RAM, and what makes this interesting to me is the FPU support. So this is something I saw at Amiga Ireland 2020, and I meant to actually talk about previously, but just haven't gotten around to it yet. So unlike a lot of the other expansions, these nice handy little upgrades, this one comes with a socket where you can add floating point unit, which I would say the intention is to make 3D games perform better, like Gloom and things like that. So we've got a link to that here in the show notes.
A 1200 Bifrost Heimdall edition is ready for pre-ordering. If you don't know, Bifrost is a little board for the Amiga 1200 that places the LEDs at the top right corner. They are the activity LEDs for the hard disk, power, and floppy drive. And those LEDs are pretty similar with the original ones. But the difference is that they are programmable by the user, who can set the different colors and the way they blink. You can personalize your Amiga 1200 the way you want.
Nice. I actually have the previous version of these in my own Amiga. I remember Miss Matt Lemon did a review of them, and she did some little tweaks to stop things like colours leaking in between them and stuff like that. And I think that all of those kind of modifications that she suggested have been added to this new update, actually, which is nice.
Now in this version, he has 2 different LEDs in one. So a LED changes from one color to the other, which is interesting. If someone wants to do that.
Yeah, so you could do like police lights, you know, the old 80s movies, the red and blue flashing on and off. That's good. RNO Xfair, RNO Transfer, is a donationware application, and it's part of the suite of the great RNO applications by the same author. This is a basic FTP client, but it supports SFTP. And it supports even 68K models as long as you've got 020 and 8 megs of RAM. But there's also it also supports other versions of Amiga as well. It has things like recursive file transfer, resume support, online editing of files. It'll calculate the dictionary, and you can send custom FTP commands. Anything in this suite of RNO, some of them have higher requirements than others, but they've all been very kind of feature complete and are well worth taking a look. And this one supports OS4 and Morphos as well. Okay, let's move on to the games section. The Amiga games list gets a big update. On April's 1st, I had to double check if this was a joke or not. Obviously, like everything on April's 1st, it's a bit annoying having to double check is everything real news or not. The 50th edition of the Amiga games list was released by David Brunette and Sebastian Udy. The total now reaches 13,048 games. Level editors, data disks, extensions and performers, and they're divided into different categories. And another big improvement was the back-end database, which now allows sorting and searching. So I think their collection is bigger than Hall of Light, although it doesn't go into the details really. It's just a top-level list. I don't think you can very much worth taking a look at. And we've got the link here.
Double-Sided Games, one of the most active publishers on the Amiga and C64 scene, and they are actually giving away 2 games for free due to the COVID virus. If you want to know which ones, go to doublesidegames.com.
Yeah, that's a nice touch, actually.
Very nice one.
Yeah, and they're the same guys who did what's it called, that amazing new game, the dungeon crawler.
Very similar to Black Dawn, similar to Hired Guns.
That's the one, yeah. So the games they've released without revealing the names, actually, we'll leave it as a mystery.
Leave it as a mystery, that's a good thing.
A new game was released called The Tiny Little Slug. The Tiny Little Slug is a game that came out recently for Amiga 500, CD32 and other models. The aim of the game is to collect strawberries as a slug, but there's a catch. You can't kill the enemies, but you have to outsmart them. To beat the game, you need to defeat the 3 bosses. There are also 3 difficulties in it, and it was created by APC and TCP, and it's available at 19 euro for the download version, but it can be found in a box version.
That's pretty good for just under €20, isn't it? Very unique looking. Also, Bridge Strike has been updated to version 1.1 and released for free in light of the current situation. So thanks to the authors for releasing this. I'd say the people who need it most probably don't have the time to play it, but nice to the rest of us for sure.
Nice one. Another one is Elite Harmless. It's an improved version of Elite for C64. I like Elite a lot, to be honest, and both versions, like for C64 and Amiga and Elite Plus are really nice ones. So if you like Elite in general, go and have a look, download it, and enjoy.
And Ghost Town has been released for the Commodore 64. It was previously available for the C16. It's also been released for the Commodore 16 and Plus 4 by Kingsoft in 1989. And it was an adventure game written by Udo Gertz with design by Peter Hartmann. So Ingo Hinterding ported this to the Commodore 64 and also did extended versions for the 64K version and the C16 and the Plus 4. So he's done bug fixes and added new features. We've really revitalized this game. Hat tip to vintage is the new old for that tip. Also on Aminet, A Centipede is one of several small, simple, monochrome graphical games released by the same author. He's also uploaded A Lights, which is a light-out clone, A Life, a Game of Life clone, and Maze Goal, which is a maze-based Game of Life. They're all simple, but I think they're quite stylish, actually. They're kind of like something maybe you'd have seen on an old Nokia phone before we had smartphones. And they're very nice. They're absolutely tiny. You would probably fit them all on a floppy disk. So well done to the author. There's some nice, tastefully done games there. And that's the end of our games section. Let's move on to discoveries. Okay, so we talked about Ami Signix earlier, and this was actually a discovery for me because I didn't know really what it was. So it turns out that it adds to OS4 support for Unix applications by supplying libraries, environment variables, and things like that. So if you're like me and you're a Linux guy, this is quite nice because you can have a familiar environment to maybe fill the gaps if they're missing, or to just fill a gap if you're still learning how to do something in OS4. So it's very nice. It definitely offers, it opens up what OS4 can offer. So graphics libraries like GTK and WX widgets. WX widgets is what Audacity's graphic GUI is done with, for example. They were also ported to OS4 to support these applications, and a list of the supported applications is available at a link we have here that is not utterable, unfortunately, on the air, but you can come and get it here.
I would like to add here that there are a lot of applications in a standalone mode, although that they run in Ami Signix. The developer made them look more like a standalone running on its own window, and it feels, because it has the theme of OS4, it feels like a standalone application running inside OS4. So the feeling is pretty close to the real applications for Amiga OS4.
Oh wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's nicely done. It's as close as you're going to get, basically, to having these. So it's like if you've ever used Aros has a similar thing for running what is it they call it? But for running like 68K programs in a sort of it's like basically a boxed emulator, but it's almost seamless. So it sort of sits on the same desktop, and it's kind of it looks a little bit different, but it's integrated very well, as good as you can get, while it's still being a Qt application or a like WX widgets or whatever kind of application. It's a serious job that's been done there.
Right, my discovery is an interview with Andrew Morris, who was the creator of graphics for Supercars and Lotus, and the interview was prepared by lemonamiga.com. So I'm a big fan actually of Supercars. That was one of the first games that I actually played on my C64 as well. And the Lotus is timeless. So if you would like to see, or if you would like to read how those games were created, how the graphics was created by back in the day, just have a look down there, read it through, and enjoy.
These days where we are more isolated, we spend more time playing Amiga games. Sorry, not about you, Luke. It will be even better to do that with friends. My discovery was the Amiga Live, which is a front-end application for the FSUI, which has a feature called NetPlay. If you never before played something like an Amiga game with a friend online. The Amiga Live does it very easy for you. You can connect your joysticks on your machine and play with the other guys on their machine. They can choose the second player, and you can choose the first player, and you can have a match on Sensible Soccer or something like that, or on a shoot 'em up like the Swift. And it's pretty fun. I discovered that lately, and it's very useful.
Yeah, it is good. And I remember actually playing that on an old laptop I had with, I think, Amiga Bill, actually. And I didn't have integrated graphics on that thing. And after several hours of playing it, the graphics chip actually slipped off the motherboard from the heat. And that was the end of my online gaming for the time being, yeah.
And that was that.
Yeah, I'm too disciplined. I intentionally buy machines that don't have graphics cards so I don't spend too much time gaming, but I think it's time to turn over a new leaf now.
Absolutely roasted.
Yeah, it's funny. I called that laptop the George Foreman because it got so hot you could close it and toast a sandwich in it, you know. Anyway, may it rest in peace.
Reminds me of a meme I saw just floating around there on Facebook of these guys, you know, trying to make a barbecue and they can't, but you know, they have this old laptop and they start up Java on it and then they have their barbecue.
Poor Java, yeah.
Shocking. But I have basically a discovery that I made, and it's kind of something that I knew was there and had in the back of my head, but I actually had a good look at it there a couple of weeks ago. Was the Code Tapper website. And what this guy's done is he's very nicely taken apart how a lot of games work. So if you know sort of games like Agony and stuff that have like the really slick, very Amiga style graphics, you know, with lots of layers of parallax and, you know, maximum use of the hardware. And he pulls them apart basically and shows you how they were programmed and how they were done. And some of them are, you know, some of them relatively straightforward. Some of them are like mind-boggling how they actually got it to work. But it's really good, clear descriptions of it. Really, you know, nice technical details without getting too crazy, and nice diagrams and pictures of, like, you know, this is the bit that's the sprites. This is the bit that's a, you know, it was a sprite in this frame and now it's not a sprite. And, you know, it's very well done. So it's you know, if you're curious about any of that stuff, it's a really good read.
Nice. And speaking of Agony, there was a discovery of mine is that there was an Agony remake for the PC. I got this on the Amiga Guru's blog. And in this, there's a very good review there. It includes screenshots and embedded videos as well as the writing. But after watching the video on their blog, I am curious to try it. It looks, well, I'm at least curious to watch more videos anyway. It's fascinating to see a game that was created in pixels, given the 2.5D treatment with the modern graphics. Now, I think, I thought they said there on the blog that it was released in 96, but somebody in this room among us was saying that it might not have been 1996. Was that you, George, or was it Aris?
It was me, yeah, because it was George, created with the Unreal Engine, right? Unreal Engine 4.
Okay. So maybe it was 2016, actually.
Yeah, I think so, because back in 1996, Unreal Engine 4 was not a thing. And I wonder how the video games would be right now if back in 1996 we would have Unreal Engine.
Yeah, and actually just looking at the original notes, I see it was 2016, so that's a typo on my part. Can't get good help these days. Yeah, good catch. Thanks, George.
No worry.
Let's move on to Ask Amiga.
Okay, so this is a topic that I just, for whatever reason, has cropped up a few times recently about mixing audio sources on the Amiga. So if you think that basically most Amigas have a pretty like limited audio capabilities, as in, like, you know, it sounds great and all that kind of stuff, but you've got your audio output and that's it. So and you hook that into your microphone or your speakers or into your amplifier and your speakers, and there's your sound. But as soon as you add a CD drive, things start to get more complicated. So, you know, there's a couple of people have been asking questions like, how do you get all the sound to come out of the same thing? Because if you have the likes of a 1200, if you get like one of the official, or, you know, one of the made for 1200 or 600 CD drives, you get basically the CD drive has to have a little audio mixer in it, and so you loop the audio out of the Amiga and into the CD drive, and then out from the CD drive to the amplifier. And I think the A570 was the same, wasn't it? But anyways, yeah. So it's basically, you need to provide an external mixer. Is the answer. Now, the Amiga 4000 has a fixed mixer on the motherboard that you can connect your CD audio to, but there's no adjustment for the volume. So if I think the CD audio might be too loud or too quiet, and there's no way of adjusting that. But at least it does have a rudimentary mixer on it, and it lets you work away without any external cables. But the solution I've had, now it's not for everyone, of course, but is I've had I have my A1200 in a big tower, and I've had PCI slots in it for close to 20 years, since the first Mediator came out. And so I got a sound card for that, and that's spot on, because you can connect the Amiga audio to that, you can connect the CD drive to that, you can connect all, you can still have other line-ins, and, it has about 6 inputs on it. And they can all be routed out through the one 3.5mm jack, just like a PC, and and you hear them all mixed together. And if the levels aren't right, you can adjust them with the software mixer, which is, it's a surprisingly modern feeling facility to have on an Amiga. There are Amiga specific sound cards and stuff like that as well, and they will all have a similar thing, but they're just, a lot of them are quite rare these days because there aren't really any made anymore, as far as I'm aware. But if you do find one secondhand, the Amiga specific ones will usually have a similar functionality. But that's basically how it's done. And it is nice, because I take it for granted that I can record 16-bit sound just through the line in, and when I play a game, that the CD music automatically comes out through the same source, and it's I take it for granted. So it's just funny to see these questions coming up, and how do I do this? So basically that's it. If you don't have the possibility to add a sound card to your Amiga, you're kind of limited. But external mixers, they do exist, and so you can just plug a couple of different inputs into them, and you get one output, and that's kind of it. It's not ideal, but they do exist, and if you're electronically minded, they're actually not that hard to build. So it's a nice little project for when you're home alone.
Nice one.
And,
Thanks,
and
Rob.
if you check a little bit the Aminet, there are some schematics for do-it-yourself mixers like that.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah, so you're sorted.
Very nice. Cool. Thanks for that, Rob. Right, next up we have some sections. We have got online activity. To be honest, it's been a strange month. We're doing, like I said, double the shopping for ourselves. We're also shopping for some elderly and vulnerable people, and we haven't had the opportunity to go and look into this stuff or be online much. So I hope everyone who is online is doing well. I hope all your friends and families and loved ones are doing okay. So that is pretty much the end of the podcast for this month, and hopefully we'll be a bit more feature full next month if we can get more time in our personal lives. But it's very crazy at the moment, and there's no sign of change because we are 2 weeks behind Italy in a way, and they are still on full lockdown and only now contemplating relaxing the rules. So
yeah,
God knows, but we will definitely be back.
Maybe we'll be settled. Maybe we'll be settled into a new routine, a new lockdown routine, and things will be a new normal, and would be more stuff to talk about then.
Another difficulty is I used to order some of our shopping online once a week, but now there's a 3-week delay on those. It's very, very odd, and trying to look after people that you can't get physically close to and stuff is tricky. So yeah, best of luck to everybody. So guys, what are your plans for the next couple of weeks? Are you going to get any Amiga time at all, or is it just an absolute disaster waiting for you?
I'm going to be working, although I think we have our company are going to actually shut down for a week next week. So we do medical supplies, so we're kind of technically key workers, even though I'm not directly in the supply chain. But I think our place is going to shut down for a week because the demand has kind of dropped off, because some of the stuff we make is for emergencies, but some of it is for elective surgery, and there's less of that going on. So as well as that, there are a lot of people self-isolating, because if you even so much as sneeze in the place, they kick you out. So and rightly so. So so they're down to reduced capacity, and they're probably going to stop operations altogether. So maybe next week I'll have a bit of time. Now I have a whiteboard beside me with I'm going to say about 20 different projects, all which haven't been touched in weeks. So, there's no fear of me running out of stuff to do. But, I'll be busy, but I'll hopefully get some Amiga time in.
Okay. Yeah.
Watch this space.
Okay, good luck with that, Rob. Luke, how about you? What's lying ahead of you?
Well, for me, it's just going to be the usual work and time divided between my a day job and Retro Ready. So I'm still hooked up to what's going on with my Amiga and Amiga world. So nothing's changed actually for me. Nothing.
Wow. Okay, well, good luck in the world of retail. I hear
you very much.
Especially difficult at the moment.
Thank you very much. Fingers crossed. And we need that lack, all of us, not only the retailer.
So, George, how about you? What's ahead of you over the coming weeks?
Actually, I have a few plans and basically a few Amiga-related plans for the next weeks. Right now, I'm updating a lot for the Amigans.net website. I'm updating all the core code and make it more secure. And also I'm doing some fixes on iGame front end. I think you all know that is for the Amiga NWT load games.
Yeah.
And I want also to find some time to learn a little bit more on Blitz Basic. I hope until next month and your next podcast, I will manage to find that time and learn new stuff.
Cool, excellent. And isn't Midwan involved with iGame as well, or is he just got a branch for this? Yeah, okay, that's cool. Excellent. That's nice. Good to hear. And you've also helped us with AmigaUsers.ie. That's a massive bit of lifting you did for us there, George. I hope it's okay to mention that on the podcast. Thanks very much for that.
I didn't do anything. Don't worry.
Well, if it wasn't for George, the site would possibly have been a text file hosted from Dropbox. So, much appreciated, George. There wasn't much time to do what needed to be done, and George came in and saved the day again. So, thanks very much, George. Let's see, Aris, what have you got ahead of you? Any plans?
Not much. Mostly, I'm gonna spend some time in the Discord making new things. Mostly relaxing. Yeah.
Nice. Good for you. Yeah. I might even see you on Discord.
It is Easter vacation for the kids.
It is exactly. It's good if anyone who's on top of their schoolwork is having a really good time at the moment. We're not getting stir crazy or anything in the house yet, but we are kind of all basically living out of one room, trying to do 3 different things. Study. My wife's doing one kind of work remotely as much as possible, and I'm doing another. So, like the Twister board came out 2 evenings ago. I think that was definitely a sign. It's something we never I don't think we've ever played. So I think we're running out of options when Twister starts coming down. But I think we're fine for the meantime, and I hope to get involved in some Amiga related project if I can in the next couple of weeks as well. And if I do, I'll be talking about it in the next episode. Until next time, guys, Aris and George, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
It was really lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really nice to have you. I hope you'll join us again sometime.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. And until our next episode.
Music was by Virtual Dimensions and Banjo Guy Ollie.
This episode was edited by Anthony Jarvis.
And if we missed anything, let us know on Twitter, Facebook, or you can email info@amigausers.ie.
And the song of the month this month, it came second place in the mod competition at Amiga Ireland. It's called Celtic Dream by Zoltar Dream Music. Congratulations, Zoltar. We'll play out with that one. Bye-bye.
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 Phew. Okay, we made it. Well done, everybody. We got through one section.
Yay.
Yeah.